Though conflicts have been existing for many years, Afghanistan has maintained steady peace in some parts of the country, but the worries have never fully faded from its people. However, the last 2 years have been significantly turbulent and rapidly changing for the country. In 2020, following a peace agreement with Taliban, the U.S. made a commitment to withdraw all its troops from the country. This complete withdrawal was finalized on September 11, 2021. Following this withdrawal, the Taliban went on the offensive towards the Islamic Republic and declared victory once they took control over Kabul, the capital. The next year, Afghanistan endured multiple earthquakes and floods, and various skirmishes within and outside its borders. These ongoing conflicts and natural disasters garnered many significant reactions on the international level, but the United States must continue to oversee Afghanistan for its national security interests. Shifting to focus on Afghanistan's Taliban rule and what is at stake for U.S. and international security, we note that there has been a security argument, or a unique security dilemma, taking place between both countries. International Relations and Foreign Policy Specialist Donald M. Snow noted that the American military response in Afghanistan is concerning, given the fact that their rationale for invading was questionable. The United States disregarded the authorization of the UN and NATO and went ahead and responded by starting a war in Iraq, believing that there were military threats to security from Afghanistan as well later on. Now, with the Taliban being an Islamic fundamentalist political and military movement once known for providing shelter to Osama bin Laden and other al-Qaeda members, it is continued to be known for having dominance of a strict interpretation of Islam, which leads to them violating many human rights. All this is known, and after the insurgency and the establishment of their second government, we see their economic activities and income are of poor performance. Again, Snow points this characteristic out while discussing failing states. This, along with the general ideology that the Taliban wields, can be seen as a recipe for destruction. The country of Afghanistan could potentially be destroyed, but this time no weapons would be involved. The Sharia law-driven Taliban had once overthrown the Western-backed Afghan government in the late 1990s. Their strict religious beliefs and political ambition had their strength grow in numbers, and with the Afghan government being inept and ineffective then and now, the Taliban has been able to reconquer and continue with its goals. The United States had suppressed the Taliban for almost 2 decades. However, the positive inducements in economic and military assistance that were provided to the Afghan government fell short, and the Taliban seems to be stronger than before. Nonetheless, we have seen in the past how the international community responded to their takeover. No countries have yet to acknowledge the Taliban government, but in the past, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates were the only nearby countries to officially recognize them. Apart from that, the Taliban has a legal political representation in Doha, Qatar. Knowing that their international legal status is in dispute, it is difficult for any country to create diplomatic ties with this non-state actor, one that has been seen as a terrorist organization that violated many human rights. The United States is no longer in Afghanistan as it was in the past, and our national security interests were not as strong as before. The latest significant activity in Afghanistan was in the U.S. counterterrorism operation to take out al-Qaeda's leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in a balcony in downtown Kabul. Other than that, it seems that the focus from the U.S. and other Western countries has greatly withdrawn from Afghanistan and invested into Ukraine, both monetarily and militarily. In the year 2022, most of the media now appears to overlook the decades-old humanitarian and political crisis.
The critics moved on. The Afghanistan story died out, but not for Afghans. And this is a key point. Where are all those politicians and pundits who were pontificating on air about our betrayal of the Afghan people a year ago, when the pullout was happening? Where are they today? It's almost as if they didn't really care about the Afghan people. Those people who still have to contend with the brutality of the Taliban, a fanatical theocratic regime. They still fight to find enough to eat amid drought conditions. The UN says nearly 20 million people, half the Afghan population, is going hungry. In the meantime, the humanitarian crisis grows, a crisis that the UN Secretary General warned about back in January.
Afghanistan is hanging by a thread. At this moment, we need the global community and this Council to put their hands on the wheel of progress, provide resources, and prevent Afghanistan from spiraling any further.
We have seen in the past that the Afghan economy imploded when the Taliban took over, and considering their violent history, their harboring of other terrorist organizations, and their image of being a repressive regime to women and children, the United States must still secure U.S. interests extremely carefully. The United States' foreign policy towards the now Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, or Taliban government, should be to lever diplomatic recognition and look forward to seeing the Taliban engage with the UN and other intergovernmental organizations. Nevertheless, our priority is the safety of Americans, and we must be ready to continue with counterterrorism operations. Secondly, there is a moral and reputational interest to not fully abandon our Afghan allies and its people who suffer day by day under famine-like circumstances. Afghanistan's situation is still in a tough spot, and for now it is up to the Taliban to use their power for the greater good. However, our advisors and other experts determine that they are unlikely to change their past behaviors or change their government style. U.S. policymakers should still be looking towards all this and also provide humanitarian aid towards the citizens through NGOs and other international aid organizations. The policy planning between the U.S. and Afghanistan is limited for now, but fully abandoning a country that we aided and now seeing it ruined by both humans and nature is not in our better interests. In conclusion, a peacekeeping pursuit is Afghanistan's best hope and our best national interest, but we must be willing to work and maintain neutrality but also be ready to sanction the Taliban if needed.